Jama Masjid was brought up by Kapil Sibal. So the CGI here says, and I'm going to quote, that most monuments like Jama Masjid, he goes on to say, most ancient masjids will be protected and won't be hit by this clause. That's an important observation that the court has made today. Nalini.
Yes, Neha, and the logic that is being followed by the Chief Justice of India in saying that monuments like Jama Masjid will not be hit by this clause or the provisions of the Waqf Amendment Act is the fact that once a monument is already declared to be a protected monument, in that case, then later on it cannot be changed to be a Waqf property because it's already been declared to be a protected monument. That's the same thing that the Chief Justice of India has said, is that the reading of the provision might be in favor of what Kapil Sibal is saying, because after a monument has been declared to be a protected monument, then later it can't be declared as a Waqf property. So on the basis of that, he said that most monuments like Jama Masjid or most ancient masjids will actually be protected by this clause and won't be hit by this clause, because what the clause essentially says is that a protected monument, declaration of a protected monument as a Waqf property will be void. But at the same time, the Chief Justice of India said that this is something that is in favor of the petitioners, because that means that any protected monument cannot be claimed to be a Waqf property, which means that it cannot be subjected to the same regulations that other Waqf properties are. So that is a protection of these monuments that the petitioners are concerned about, the concerns which are being raised before the Supreme Court of India. So that's what the Chief Justice of India said. In fact, Kapil Sibal, in response to it, says that this is regarding a bar on any declaration of land as Waqf by a scheduled tribe. But the CGI responds, but aren't there a lot of laws across India which says that scheduled tribes can't transfer land without court permission? Scheduled tribes have been protected as far as lands are concerned, and he also goes on to say then it can't be deemed to be a Waqf property. Sibal goes on to point out that non-Muslims being included in Waqf Council and Board is something that should not be done because it's against the principles that the Waqf properties are actually administered by. He says that the Central Waqf Council under 1995, all nominees were Muslim. I have the chart, all Hindu or Sikh endowments. The nominees are either Hindus or Sikhs, and this is a direct violation. The fact that there are no non-Hindus or Sikhs part of the administrative bodies of the religious endowments belonging to Hindus or Sikhs, but in the Muslim administrative bodies related to Waqfs, there are non-Muslims that are allowed to be part of these bodies. So this is discrimination according to what Sibal is saying, and he says that it's the parliamentary usurpation of 200 people's faith in this country. That's what the parliament has done. The parliament has usurped 200 million people's faith in this country by bringing in this law. A very strong statement coming in from Kapil Sibal before the Supreme Court of India. He's also gone ahead and he's pointing out the specific points on the basis of which the petitioners have challenged this law before the Supreme Court, including the fact that Waqf by user has been taken away, including the fact that a person will have to prove the fact that he's been Muslim for at least 5 years if he wants to convert a property into a Waqf property, along with the fact that inclusion of non-Muslims is being done in the administrative bodies related to these Waqf properties. So on all these constitutional grounds, Kapil Sibal and the other petitioners have challenged this before the Supreme Court of India. We are expecting for the arguments to continue for a little bit before we can hear what the government has to say. It's expected that Solicitor General Tushar Mehta will be leading the arguments on behalf of the government before the Supreme Court, and considering that the caveat has already been filed, the government will come prepared with exactly what they have to say in opposition to not just these petitions, but also in opposition to an interim stay being granted to this law.
Nalini getting us up to speed with that big development from the Supreme Court of India, where the arguments are currently being made by Kapil Sibal. In fact, he's also spoken about 3 E's. Take us through what is that. 3E is the 5th challenge, he says, regarding bar on declaration of any land as Waqf by a scheduled tribe. Take us through the nuance of that, Nalini.
So remember, Sneha, at the very beginning, the Chief Justice of India had told Kapil Sibal to list out in points, exactly bullet points, what his objections to the law was. So Kapil Sibal started that by saying that number 1, we have to prove that we've been Muslim for at least 5 years. That's arbitrary, it cannot be done, it should be taken away. Number 2, he said that the Waqf by user concept has been taken away for any future properties. That's unconstitutional and that should not be allowed to be done. Number 3, he said that all of these protected monuments cannot be turned into Waqf property. There is a restriction on that, and the Supreme Court's actually gone ahead and said that that is something that is in your favor, that all these monuments will continue to remain as protected monuments. Number 4, he said that there is a bar on the scheduled tribes actually transferring their property to somebody else through this law, to which the CJI has responded is that this is not the only law that actually restricts scheduled tribes from transferring the properties. There are several laws that speak about this, and he also goes on to say that scheduled tribes have been protected for several years as far as transfer of law is concerned. The next point raised by Kapil Sibal is the fact that there are non-Muslims who are being allowed to join the administrative bodies of the Waqf properties, which essentially means that it's not just going to be Muslims who are going to decide how the Waqf property should be administered, but it will also include non-Muslims, which is something that is not done when it comes to Hindu religious endowments or Sikh religious endowments, because their administrative bodies only consist of either Hindu persons or Sikh persons. But only for us it's being done where the administrative bodies will also consist of non-Muslims persons. He says that this is against the constitution because this is discriminatory. This is against our rights under Article 26 because this is taking away our freedom to administer our own institutions and our own properties according to how we want it. There is not only outside interference but also state interference. Interference is the main term that Kapil Sibal has used to define this Waqf Amendment Act that has been brought in by the centre. He's calling it an interference by the state and interference by the government, and something that is violative of the rights of the 200 Muslims in India who've placed their faith in this government. Their rights are being taken away by the government systematically through this law that has been brought in by the parliament, is what Kapil Sibal has argued so forth.